Hello everyone, I'm Mr. Endress and welcome to your lesson on time zones. Although this may seem like a geography lesson, you are about to find out that math plays a very important part in how time zones are calculated. If you are ready, we can begin. This lesson will introduce some of the important terms needed in our discussion of the time zones of the United States. First, it's important to know what a standard time zone is. A standard time zone is a region in which the same time is used. Now that we know that, it's also important to know that the United States is divided into 6 time zones. Here, represented in yellow along the East Coast, is the Eastern Time Zone. Next, in green, is the Central Time Zone. Note that Florida, Indiana, Kentucky, and Tennessee are part of both Eastern and Central Time Zones. Next, represented in blue, is the Mountain Time Zone. Kansas, Nebraska, North Dakota, and Texas are part of the Central and Mountain Time Zones. Along the West Coast, represented here in red, is the Pacific Time Zone. Oregon and Idaho are both part of the Mountain Time Zone and the Pacific Time Zone. Here in purple is the Alaskan Time Zone. Finally, in orange is the Hawaiian Aleutian Time Zone. To recap, there are 6 time zones to understand and know: Eastern, Central, Mountain, Pacific, Alaskan, and Hawaii Aleutian. Can you remember them all? For this lesson, you will put into practice the skills needed to calculate what time it is in the different states that are not part of our time zone. When looking at our map of the United States that have been labeled with the time zones, we will add an hour for every time zone we encounter when we move to the right, and we will subtract an hour for every time zone we encounter when we move to the left. This is an important concept to remember because you will be given the time in a standard time zone and asked to figure out the time in a different state. Without knowing whether to add or subtract, we won't be able to correctly answer the problem. There you have it. All it takes to calculate time zones is some simple addition and subtraction. Just remember, when you move to the left, you subtract an hour, and when you move to the right, you add an hour. Be careful not to mix them up. If every time zone were 1 hour apart, there would be a total of 24 across the world. However, some of them have a 30 to 45 minute difference, which makes the actual number of time zones higher. France has the most observed time zones of any country. The United States and Russia are a close second, though. Despite its size, India maintains just one time zone, a tradition dating back to the colonial era. Although technically there is no time and space, astronauts on the International Space Station are 5 hours ahead of New York. Because longitudes converge at the poles, neither the South or the North Poles have an official time zone. Instead, the North Pole research stations follow the time zones in their respective countries, and the South Pole follows the time in New Zealand.